No, because I'm paying, remember?
I actually can't get into the UK. For lyrics, old lyrics from like Backstage.
From 50 Cent getting kicked out of Summer Jam twice after wild onstage chaos, to Tyler, the creator, getting treated like a national security threat at UK customs because of his old lyrics, all the way to MF Doom being blacklisted from performing in America ever again. Hip-hop has a long list of artists who push rebellion past the industry's comfort zone. In this video, we're running through 10 rappers who got banned from performing, not because they lacked talent, but because they were too raw, too loud, and too unfiltered for the system to handle. Let's kick it off with 50 Cent Curtis Jackson, a man who built his empire on controversy, conflict, and straight-up fearlessness. That same energy that turned him into a global icon also got him blocked from some of the biggest hip-hop stages on the planet. Most of his bans came from pure on-stage chaos, concerts flipping into street fights, shows getting shut down mid-performance, and promoters walking away saying, "Yeah, we're never doing that again," after G-Unit rolled through. But the wildest ban of them all? Hot 97 Summer Jam, the Super Bowl of New York hip-hop. 50 didn't just get banned once. My guy managed to get himself booted twice. 2 different years. 2 different explosions. One artist bold enough to make history by being too real for the biggest stage in rap. The first disaster hit in 2004, when 50 was ruling the entire rap world from the charts to the block. During his set at Giant Stadium, things went downhill instantly. Word is, 50 tossed water toward the front row, where his ex-associate Bang'em Smurf just happened to be lurking, practically waiting for a reason to spark something. What started as petty shade turned into a full-blown arena riot. Chairs flying, fans ducking, security scrambling, and the whole venue sounding less like a concert and more like a street war unfolding live. It got so insane that even Hot 97's Ebro Darden later admitted the chair-throwing madness was a final nail in the coffin. The Summer Jam saga didn't just fade out, it detonated. In 2018, 50 Cent threw gasoline on the old feud, lighting up Ebro on social media over those long-running restrictions and even hinting he'd pull up in person. But that was just one chapter in 50's thick anthology of performance beefs. Back in 2005, he nearly got barred from entering Canada when Toronto's own Member of Parliament, Dan McTeague, begged officials to lock the doors. The man accused 50 of glorifying violence, gang culture, and drugs.
Leave me banned, ladies and gentlemen. Leave me banned. I'm fine where I'm at now. I'm fine where I'm at. Don't unban me because no one's there to get.
Basically calling him a walking R-rated hazard with a microphone. Even with all that political heat, Curtis still walked through customs and rock stages in Toronto and Montreal like it was nothing. Those bans and near bans didn't stop him. They boosted him. They became part of the mythology that built the 50 Cent persona, dangerous, unpredictable, and too real for sanitized society. Every closed door only pushed his legend higher. But if 50 was the outlaw of New York, the next name on this list was a global renegade, the one who triggered headlines just by approaching airport security. Enter Snoop Dogg. Calvin Cordo's Abroadus Jr., the dog father himself. Before youth football leagues, family-friendly commercials, and Martha Stewart baking cookies beside him, Snoop was a face of West Coast gangster rap, a man with charm, flow, and a rap sheet that made border agents nervous. From early drug cases to weapons charges, and even a 1993 murder trial that nearly ended everything, Snoop's past made him a flashing red alert in immigration files worldwide. His biggest ban came courtesy of the UK. In 2006, after Snoop and his entourage were denied entry into the British Airways first-class lounge at Heathrow, a small insult turned into a televised meltdown. Chaos erupted, vandalism, injuries, police swarms. The headlines went global overnight, and British authorities slapped him with a travel ban for public safety reasons. Snoop fought it for years, but Britain didn't budge until 2010, when a tribunal finally reversed the ban. During those years in exile, Snoop admitted the hit wasn't just financial. It felt personal. He and Diddy had even planned a joint tour that collapsed because of the ban. But the UK wasn't the only nation that slammed the door. In 2007, Australia hit him with the same treatment, rejecting his visa days before the MTV Australia Awards. Their reason? Failing a character test. With past charges spanning cocaine possession to weapons violations, officials labeled Snoop a walking liability. To immigration officers, Snoop wasn't just a rapper. He was risk wrapped in rhythm. But to fans, he was the outlaw poet they couldn't get enough of. Every country that tried to mute him only amplified his legend. And the ban in Australia didn't last forever. By September 2008, Snoop won his appeal and the gates reopened. But controversy stuck to him like smoke. Fast forward to 2025, and he was back in headlines after Australian Senator Ralph Babbitt demanded Snoop be removed from the AFL Grand Final lineup, accusing him of promoting violence, drugs, and misogyny. Still, Snoop stepped onto that Melbourne MCG stage on September 27th and delivered one of the most celebrated pre-game performances in AFL history, proving once again that controversy isn't his obstacle, it's his spotlight. And it wasn't just Australia or the UK giving him heat. In 2012, Norway had its own chapter in the Snoop saga. On June 14th, he got detained at Oslo's Kjevik airport after officials discovered about 8 grams of marijuana tucked in his luggage. He paid an $8,600 fine, hit the stage that same night, and still walked away with a 2-year entry ban that kicked in on July 28, 2012. But fast forward to October 2025, and Snoop's name is clean everywhere. No bans, no blocks, just global touring energy. But while Snoop smoked his way past restrictions, the next artist learned that sometimes your own lyrics become the bars that lock you in. Tyler, the Creator, real name Tyler O'Connor, a man who built an empire out of shock value, rebellion, and saying things everyone else didn't even want to whisper. As a brain behind Odd Future, his early music was beautiful chaos, dark, unhinged, and intentionally disturbing. His debut projects Bastard, 2009, and Goblin, 2011, weren't albums. They were cinematic nightmares soaked in violence, twisted stories, and raw emotional explosions. Those same lyrics that earned him cult fandom also had governments clutching their pearls, branding his art as dangerous influence. I actually can't get into the UK, Tyler once admitted. Why? Old lyrics from Bastard. His most infamous ban hit in August 2015 when then Home Secretary Theresa May personally blocked his entry. Tyler was literally stopped at the border while on his way to perform at the Reading and Leeds festivals. The Home Office blasted him publicly, accusing his lyrics of promoting homophobia, hatred, and violence. They even listed songs like VCR, Blow, Sarah, Tron Cat, and French as examples of content that glorified rape and murder. Tyler was livid. In interviews, he compared the situation to being treated like a terrorist, calling it a direct attack on free expression. He explained those controversial lyrics came from fictional characters, not personal beliefs. But the UK didn't budge. It took 4 long years before the ban was finally lifted in May 2019. And when he returned, he did it loudly, performing sold-out shows across the country. Now in 2025, Tyler is set to hit the UK again for his Chromacopia World Tour, proving the comeback always hits harder than the ban. But the UK wasn't the only country that couldn't handle Tyler's intensity. New Zealand had already sounded the alarm on him in Odd Future years earlier. Their government first blocked the group in 2012 and then made it official in 2014, echoing the UK's stance by claiming their presence could threaten public order. To officials, they were unpredictable troublemakers. To fans, they were innovators the world just wasn't ready for yet. New Zealand didn't just find Odd Future offensive, they labeled them dangerous. Authorities insisted the group's lyrics pose a threat to public order, accusing them of inspiring riots and glorifying violence. Tyler clapped back through his music, referencing the ban in Smuckers, rapping about being treated like a terrorist over fictional lyrics. That ban finally cracked in August 2019 when Immigration New Zealand admitted he no longer posed a threat. By January 2020, Tyler was back on the Bay Dreams Festival stage, and with new dates locked in for 2025, it's clear the world finally caught up to his vision. But Australia handed Tyler a whole different nightmare in 2015. His visa wasn't just delayed. It was denied outright after feminist group Collective Shout launched a petition accusing him of promoting rape culture and misogyny. They argued his lyrics clashed with Australia's national plan to reduce violence against women, sparking a massive debate about art, responsibility, and past work haunting present success. Years later, the temperature cooled, and Tyler's now welcomed with open arms, selling out arena shows across Australia for August and September 2025. What started as censorship evolved into a global conversation about freedom, evolution, and how old words can follow an artist forever. While Tyler uses bands to fuel growth, reflection, and reinvention, the next artist never got that chance. MF Doom, real name Daniel Jumile, remains one of hip-hop's most mysterious legends. Behind the metal mask and comic book persona was a lyrical architect who shaped underground rap like no one else. But Doom's biggest enemy wasn't the industry. It was a United States immigration system. His entire life was shadowed by lost documents, expired paperwork, and technicalities that would eventually exile him from the country that built his career. Born July 13, 1971, in Hounslow, London, to a Trinidadian mother and Zimbabwean father, Doom moved to the U.S. as a baby on a B-2 tourist visa that quietly expired in 1972. His mother tried to correct his status in 1974, but no follow-up residency application was ever filed. From that moment forward, the government listed him as a deportable alien, a label he never even knew existed. While he was creating classics with KMD and working alongside his brother DJ Subrock, unresolved legal issues from the early 90s, like a 1993 assault case, were piling up in his file, waiting to be weaponized against him. Everything collapsed in 2010. After touring Europe following the release of Born Like This, Doom tried to fly back home to New York, but immigration shut him out. Customs denied him entry on 3 counts: no valid visa, a past conviction for moral turpitude, and more than a year of unlawful presence after turning 18, triggering an automatic 10-year re-entry ban. Just like that, one of hip-hop's greatest disappeared behind the mask for real, exiled from America for the rest of his life. The fallout was devastating. Doom found himself separated from his wife, Jasmine, and their 5 children for nearly 2 years, relying on video calls until his family finally relocated to London in 2012. His U.S. career vanished overnight. No concerts, no tours, no comeback stage waiting for him. In a 2012 interview with Q magazine, he said calmly, "I'm done with the United States. It's no big deal." He even turned the pain into art on Banish with Gennaro Jarrell. MF Doom lived the rest of his life in the UK, passing away on October 31, 2020, still barred from the country he once called home. But the controversy didn't end with his passing. It erupted again in 2021. When rhymes like dimes appeared on the official Biden-Harris inauguration playlist, fans exploded online, accusing the administration of hypocrisy. They pointed out that the same Democratic leadership under Obama, had enforced the immigration rules that kept Doom exiled until the day he died. His story became a chilling reminder of how paperwork, policy, and decades-old errors can reshape a life, even the life of a legend. While Doom's exile stemmed from immigration technicalities, the next rapper learned that a criminal record can lock doors just as fast. Ja Rule, born Jeffrey Bruce Atkins Sr., once dominated the early 2000s with hits like Always on Time and Mesmerize. But decades later, his past caught up to him. In February 2024, J.A. was denied entry into the United Kingdom just days before launching his Sunrise Tour, forcing him to cancel every UK date. The tour was meant to celebrate 25 years since his debut album, kicking off in Cardiff before hitting London, Birmingham, Leeds, and Glasgow. J.A. had personally invested over $500,000 into production, and with ticket sales nearly 85% sold out, the last-minute band hit like a wrecking ball. He vented on X, calling the situation unfair to him and his fans. Ticketmaster canceled the shows and issued refunds, while J.A. blamed his promoter for pushing forward despite knowing his record. British officials didn't sugarcoat anything. Anyone who served more than 12 months in prison is automatically denied entry. For Ja Rule, that wasn't a policy he could escape. His criminal record includes a 2010 guilty plea for attempted weapon possession, earning him 2 years behind bars, plus a 2011 tax evasion conviction that added 28 more months. He served roughly 2 years before his 2013 release, but those charges continue to trail him everywhere he goes. As of October 2025, there's no sign the UK has reconsidered the ban, leaving him locked out indefinitely. And because the internet has a long memory, 50 Cent couldn't resist jumping online to clown him, mocking the canceled dates and calling it juice all over the place. J.A. fired back, proving that even after 20 years, that feud is still undefeated. But this wasn't just another bump in the road. It was a reminder that the past never fully dies. No matter how much an artist grows, certain records never get erased. And J.A. isn't the only one carrying that burden. If he thinks the UK went hard on him, he might find a little comfort knowing other rappers have faced the exact same fate. The Game, for example, has turned Banned Overseas into a repeating storyline in his career. Born Jason Taylor, The Game earned his reputation as the unapologetic face of West Coast realism. But that same authenticity, the gang ties, the criminal charges, the no-filter persona, became his biggest obstacle internationally. It all kicked off in April 2011 when he was detained at the Canadian border before a 14-date tour. Officials deported him back to the U.S., citing alleged Bloods gang affiliations and organized crime connections. The tour was cancelled, fans were left frustrated, and a pattern of international roadblocks was set in motion. Fast forward 8 years, deja vu hit hard. In January 2019, the Game attempted another Canadian tour, hitting cities like Vancouver and Ottawa. Once again, border officials said no. Same story, same customs issues. Canada was officially off limits. Then in 2016, Australia joined the list. Upon landing, he was stopped and denied entry for improper visa documentation, which insiders admitted was code for "we don't want gang influence here." The tour was cancelled, and by 2017, he even faced allegations of promoting a fake Australian tour, culminating in a 2021 court ruling ordering over $500,000 in damages. And just when it seemed the pressure couldn't get any worse, it did. In March 2025, his European shows in Vienna and Berlin were cancelled after Kanye West posted a photo of the Game wearing a hoodie with a swastika symbol. Promoters immediately pulled the plug, apologized to fans, and issued refunds, citing zero tolerance for hate imagery. The backlash across Europe was immediate and brutal. Back home, fans noticed something else. The Game was absent from Kendrick Lamar's pop-out, Ken and Friends concert in June 2024 at the Kia Forum. The silence around his no-show spoke volumes. Cameron's border story was less permanent, more like a revolving door of bureaucratic confusion. Despite being turned away in 2010, he later performed in Canada without issue, showing that entry denials were handled case by case. Still, the inconsistency frustrated fans and promoters alike, as shows would often be announced only to be mysteriously cancelled days before. That pattern created the reputation that booking Cam could be a gamble. One officer's no could derail an entire tour. Cam wasn't alone in turning border battles into legend. For some rappers, the denials became part of their mythology, proof that their street credibility was simply too real for government paperwork. And in hip-hop, being too real often sells more than any sold-out tour ever could. Cam turned these obstacles into another chapter of his hustler narrative, continuing to drop music, act, and launch viral ventures, proving he could be banned from countries but never from culture. Across all these stories, from MF Doom's exile to J.A. Rule's denied entry, from the Game's international bans to Waka Flocka's state-by-state shutdowns, one truth echoes loud: hip-hop's global dominance doesn't guarantee global access. Laws, reputations, and the ghosts of past actions still dictate who can perform where. For every platinum plaque, there's a passport stamp that never existed. And for these artists, sometimes the biggest barrier isn't geography. It's a line between redemption and reputation. Cameron had hit Toronto earlier that summer at the Caribana Bash, showing that the 2010 border incident was more selective scrutiny than an outright ban. By 2014, he was back performing in Canada, proving the restriction was temporary and linked to standard immigration rules for U.S. rappers with rap sheets. But that same year, Chaos followed him to London when he no-showed a highly anticipated concert at the Forum, his first UK gig in nearly 10 years. Reports say he arrived backstage, confirmed by DJ Tim Westwood, but then vanished before performing, allegedly after spotting promoter Mega Man from So Solid Crew trying to collect a debt from a 2003 show. Fans were furious, storming the stage, while Cam later posted online pretending he never showed up, leaving his London reputation permanently scarred. While not an official ban, the fiasco almost blacklisted him from UK promoters who swore off ever working with him again. Cam defended his actions, claiming the environment felt unsafe and referencing past robberies involving US rappers in London. Even the earlier controversy around his 2009 album Crime Pays, when a Canadian editor attempted to have it banned, didn't stop him from touring. As of October 2025, Cam remains unrestricted, touring freely across the U.S. and staying active in both music and business. His story proves that even short-term border disputes or unpaid debts can leave long-term scars on an artist's international reach. Then there's Lil Wayne, arguably one of hip-hop's biggest exports, yet consistently restricted. Despite selling over 20 million albums and winning 5 Grammys, his rap sheet has repeatedly closed doors. It began in 2006 with a chaotic show at Morgan State, where throwing cash into the crowd injured 3 women, resulting in a permanent ban from the campus. By 2011, the UK denied him a work visa over a 2007 gun conviction, cancelling his entire tour. Fast forward to 2022, and British officials again refused him entry to headline the Strawberries and Cream Festival, citing the same 12-month-plus sentence, Trump pardon or not. The blow hit hardest in 2025 when the NFL and Rock Nation bypassed him for his hometown Super Bowl lineup in New Orleans, choosing Kendrick Lamar instead. Wayne said the snub broke him, responding the only way he knows, through music, dropping band from N.O., with Nicki Minaj taking shots at Jay-Z and Rock Nation. His journey proves that for some rappers, punishment never fully ends, no matter how much success, forgiveness, or accolades they achieve. And finally, Eminem, the man who spent decades testing just how far art can push boundaries before institutions step in. While he's never faced a full UK ban, his 2014 rejection from headlining British Summertime at Hyde Park came close. Royal Park's officials labeled his lyrics offensive and inappropriate, fearing backlash from nearby residents. The debate even reached London Mayor Boris Johnson's office, where his chief of staff reportedly admitted he didn't even know who Eminem was, sending the call right back. M responded by booking and selling out 2 Wembley Stadium shows in protest. Earlier in his career, Sheffield University banned his music, calling it misogynistic and anti-gay. In Manchester, police warned him not to perform Kill You, so he performed it twice. Over the years, controversies like these only sharpened his brand, the rebel who says what no one else will. Since 2014, no new bands have appeared. If anything, every attempt to censor Eminem has only made him bigger, proof that when institutions try to silence hip-hop, they usually end up amplifying it.